Back to our discussion, in case you joined us, this is News Check, and we are talking about matters conservation, and especially when we are just about to host the 5th United Nations Environment Assembly, and we have Dr. Juliette Biao, who is the Director, United Nations Environment Assembly Africa Office. And just before we went to CS Mutahi Kagwe, we were talking about the United Nations Environment Program. Is actually this year celebrating 50 years of existence. Congratulations and happy birthday.
Thank you, Ben. The celebrations we are preparing for the celebration, and it's Kenya taking the leadership on that, and good leadership to really help on the preparation of UNEP at 50. I think in every initiative that you undertake, you want to step back, you want to look back and really assess your progress.
Yes.
UNEP at 50 is coming at a particular moment of COVID-19, where really something has been broken between people and nature. And that will really give another sense to this UNEP at 50. And having Kenya, the host of the United Nations Environment Program, playing a leadership role to really kind of rally the whole world on a common noble cause, it's a pride for Africa. Though it is being led by Kenya, it is not only an African thing. It is really an event that really involves the whole world. And as I mentioned, it is a pride for Africa to see Kenya leading this initiative. As I said, the discussions have started during this online UNEA section. It will go through the resume UNEA 2 in 2020 and also at the World Environment Day on 5th of June. Currently, the member states are discussing what will this special event could look like, and what are the activities that will really help to raise more awareness on the environment. So we are really working under the leadership of the Kenyan government on that.
And talking about taking leadership, last year you had a green stimulus program. Can you kindly comment on it?
No, we didn't have a green stimulus program standalone event per se. What we had was the 8th special session of the African Ministerial Conference on the Environment, where the African Green Stimulus Package program was discussed and adopted. And I spoke about it in my...
And still on the Bamako Convention, perhaps we can touch on some of the signatories that we have and who have pledged their allegiance to follow each and everything that was discussed in that convention.
Yeah, up to date, I think we have 31 countries that have joined. And as I mentioned earlier, just within 2 years, we have Sierra Leone, Central African Republic, and recently Morocco joining. I'm sure, even though Kenya has not yet joined, Kenya government is thinking about joining it, because Kenya has given a very wonderful example on the ban of plastic that other countries in the world are emulating now. I think there is a close relationship between the plastic waste and also, you know, when we talk about the Bamako Convention on the waste and hazardous waste, I think Kenya it will be willing also to join. We are really ready to provide any kinds of support to see Kenyan joining. And it's also because Kenya is the host of the United Nations Environment Program, and that the world is watching Kenya on really all the initiative that they are taking on environment. And I have to say that good leadership is being taken by the Kenyan government.
Yes, indeed, you are the Africa office head, but you've lived in Kenya for perhaps a while. What are some of the things that you've seen us do right when it comes to conservation of the environment, or what are some of the things that we really need to improve as a country when it comes to environment conservation? And of course, I will still pose the same question I had posed earlier on what are the benefits of us hosting the United Nations Environment Program headquarters right here in Nairobi.
Look, as I mentioned earlier, you know, making peace with nature takes simple individual action. I've been living here in Kenya for more than 5 years now.
Yes.
I was on leave in my country. After a week, I started missing Kenya because of this good weather. Because of the good environment here in Kenya. Because when I wake up in my own country, when I see people throwing waste here and there, really the behavior toward the environment is really shocking. Kenya, you don't have it. This is the reason why when I move away from Kenya, I really miss Kenya. No, just, you know, on a serious note,
yes.
Kenya is among the countries where you can see is really a forest in a city. This air that we are breathing is clean. This is not to say Kenya is not only Nairobi.
Yes.
Kenya is also other countries and in the countryside. So Kenya is doing really well on environmental matters. And I think that, you know, it is fair to see that Kenya is giving really the host for the United Nations Environment Program. So I think Kenya will demonstrate once more their leadership on environmental matters through this unit of 50, because they will be rallying the whole world around this noble cause on the environment.
And 1st of March this year, you want to launch a transport unit?
No. We have a transport unit. I just mentioned that we will be launching electric motors. We will be happy really to have you during this event so that we can share more information in detail on that. Perhaps
you can touch more on that transport unit, because I'm quite sure you are UNEA, so at least it has to be very, very air-friendly, right?
Yeah, but this transport unit is really looking at, you know, beating pollution through really, you know, the transport has a lot of, contributes a lot to the pollution. So the transport unit is the unit that is related to our economy division, who is working on this matter. We as a regional office are supporting that to really raise awareness of member states and to also help them to set up, to establish some policies that really can help the countries to move toward environment-friendly really policies and to beat pollution. And I think my colleagues, you have the opportunity to talk with Rob, who is the head of this unit at the right moment.
Another thing, the laws that member states have and the policies regarding environmental conservation, should anything be changed so that we may aspire to have the nature that you're talking about, a clean nature that will be friendly to everyone?
I don't think that we should, we can really talk about a change of policies where it is necessary to reinforce taking into consideration the lessons that we've learned through the COVID-19 pandemic, and also the opportunities that we were able to seize during this COVID pandemic, can help us to reinforce the policies that exist. Even the African Green Stimulus Program that I've talked about, as I mentioned, is not something that is new. It intends really to reinforce existing green and blue economy initiative, as well as the climate change initiative that exists. So yes, there is a possibility to really look into areas that need new interventions. What we need to change is really how we do business. We cannot continue doing business as usual. What needs to change also is to see how we can seize the opportunity of the digital space that is being created now to really rally our young people.
Kenya is one of the member states when you talk about UNEP, and as you've said that we are actually on the right track when it comes to matters conservation, but a lot also needs to be done. The government did start an ambitious afforestation program right here in the country, and other countries seem to have followed suit. What can you say about those efforts, and what are we looking at when it comes to 5-10 years if we continue with that good gesture?
I think what you're talking about is the Greening Kenya initiative, where UNEP is called to take also a kind of leadership with, of course, to take some responsibility under the leadership of the Cabinet Secretary on Forestry. Kenya has set up an objective for at least 10% forest recovery by 2030. And they are really, really doing tremendous effort to achieve this goal. And we, as UNEP, we are really supporting, not only as UNEP, but as the UN family, because we are working with other relevant UN agencies to support Kenya in this effort.
Yeah. And are there any modern methods of conservation? Looking at 5 years that you've been in the country, of course, a lot of things are changing, including technology. So what would you say about what is happening, or the modern now methods that are being used here in Africa to actually achieve a green and perhaps a blue economy well? Because looking at so many Africans are using perhaps charcoal, others are using fossil fuels, and of course they also contribute to pollution in Africa.
I think we need, as I mentioned earlier, a lot is going on in terms of innovation. And COVID-19 pandemic has really offered a great opportunity for innovation. There are innovation in many areas, and many key areas. Just looking at the sector of energy, there are more innovative cook stuff in some countries. There are other technologies that have been adopted really to cope with the situation. What we need to do is really to kind of shed the light on this innovation and gather information and share it across the continent, so that we can scale up, we can have other countries emulate it.
And I know this is off the cuff, but a lot of African countries want to start using nuclear energy, just like other developed countries have. But of course, there are challenges here and there, and of course, some objections. What would you say about nuclear energy in Africa?
You see, UNEP is not really kind of what we are working on so far. Is solar energy, wind energy, geothermal, and as I said, Kenya is taking the lead on geothermal, and also what kind of energy? And biomass also is an energy. So I wouldn't really say much about the nuclear energy because as UNEP we are not really kind of, I think this discussion has to come at a certain level with the International Energy Agency. Yeah.
And of course, we are hoping for the best when it comes to that. That is why I actually told you it's off the cuff when we talk about energy, and especially in Africa, where a lot of Africans are using fuels that actually aid in pollution of the environment. During the Bamako Convention, there were some of the things that were touched when it comes to all the African countries that are member states. And they all alluded that they are going to be following some of the resolutions that you came up with. Looking at the resolutions that you made for these three crucial parameters, that is climate change, nature, and pollution, where can you rank Africa? You are the African head. Where can you rank Africa in terms of other developed countries?
You know, as a regional office for Africa, although it is this kind of comparison is necessary at some point, I'm more focused about having all the member states really making progress on this environmental matters than really start comparing with a developed country. You know, one thing that I do as a regional office for Africa is really to share information about good practices that have been really adopted in some countries, and also for other countries that are lagging behind to emulate those countries who have succeeded. Maybe that can also create a kind of competition, but it would be a healthy competition. Yeah.
When it comes to now you living here as a Kenyan, let me call you a Kenyan for now, and what is it that you can advise us as Kenyans when it comes to matters environmental conservation as we wind up?
The only advice I can really give is that Kenya should continue on you know, the right path that they have taken to achieve sustainable development goal. I have to say really honestly that Kenya is on the right track, and I know that you know, Kenya also knows that you know, the world is really watching Kenya as a host of the United Nations Environment Program. So they are doing well. They just need to do more, to scale up, and to be able really to build a more resilient and more resilient community, you know, due to really kind of overcome the shock that the shock of the COVID-19 pandemic. Really, it's a pride really to have you know, an African country hosting this global, I will say, global institution, and being able to rally all the world around this cause. It's a pride.
Kindly speak to this camera on the fifth. Final words on the 5th United Nations Environment Assembly, and of course the UNEP at 50 as we wind up.
Yes, the United Nations Environment Program, the United Nations Environment Assembly is the highest decision-making body on the global environment. It meets biennially, and we are currently really running the 5th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly. Here in the member states have agreed to have two-step approach due to the COVID-19. pandemic. And we are currently running the online session, which is really to be held on 22nd to 23rd of February this year. During this session, only really urgent matters such as the approval, the adoption of the medium-term strategy, the program of work, and the budget will really be examined during this online session. And there will be also a launch of a synthesis report on making peace with nature, which really is a comprehensive blueprint to address the three key crises: climate change, nature, and pollution, and to secure sustainable development and also to build resilient and inclusive post-COVID world. Finally, this a leadership dialogue will also be organized to really explain how the environmental dimension contribute to sustainable development goals and to build also a resilient and an inclusive post-COVID world. The second session of UNEA will resume in 2022, where countries will have the opportunity to discuss issues that require negotiation. So, as I said earlier, UNEP Up 50 will be an opportunity for member states, the whole world, not only African countries, to look back to UNEP 50 years ago and to really seize, the opportunities of the COVID-19, whether it has affected us or have offered some opportunities to kind of recommit to really improve our environment for, both nature and people to gain from the benefit.
Indeed, thank you so much. I have been speaking to Dr. Juliette Biao, who is the Director, United Nations Environment Assembly Africa Office. We were talking about the 5th United Nations Environment Assembly that will be taking place, as she has said, from the 22nd to the 23rd of this month, though virtually because of COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, I hope you have learned a lot about environmental conservation, and it all begins with changing your perception and loving your environment. Thank